The first 20 hours, how to learn anything. Hi everyone. 2 years ago, my life changed forever. My life, Kelsey and I welcomed our daughter later into the world. Now, becoming parents is an amazing experience where whole world changes overnight and all of your priority changes immediately, so fast. That makes it really difficult to process sometimes. Now, you also have to learn a tremendous amount of being a parent, for example, how to dress your child. This was new to me. This is actually a field I thought was a good idea. And I believe or knows that it's not a good idea. So there's so much to learn and so much craziness at once. And to add to craziness, Kelsey and I both work for home. We're entrepreneurs, we're not a business. So Kelsey develops courses online for yoga teachers. I'm an author, and I'm working for Hong Kong Hesses, working for her rehab and events, and we're trying to make sure that everything gets done and is done. And life is really busy. And a couple of weeks into the amazing experience, when the sleep deprivation really kicked in, it's like around the weekend, I have a thought, and it was the same thoughts that parents across the ages internationally, everybody has this thought, which is, I am never going to have a break time ever again. And this is somebody that's true. And it's not exactly true, but it's really true in the moment. And this is really discomfort to me. This is one of the things I enjoyed more than anything else. It's learning new things, getting curious about something and diving in and figuring out one knowledge travel will later eventually become a pretty good or something. And without this free time, I didn't know I was ever going to do that ever again. And so I'm a big geek. I want to keep learning things. I want to keep growing. And so what I decided to do was go to the library, go to the bookstore, and look at what research is saying about how we learn and how we learn quickly. And I read a bunch of books, I read a bunch of websites, and tried to answer the question, how long does it take to acquire a new skill? You know what I found? 10,000 hours. Anybody have heard this? 10,000. 10,000 is you want to learn something new, you want to get at 10,000 hours to get there. I read this in book after book, in website after website, and my mental experience of reading all of this stuff was like, I don't have time. I don't have 10,000 hours. I'm never going to be able to learn anything new ever again. But that's not true. So 10,000 hours just give you a lot for the negative. 10,000 hours is a full-time job for 5 years. That's a long time. And we have the experience learning something new, and it didn't take anyone's close to the amount of time, right? So watch out, there's something kind of funky going on here. The researchers said that what we expenses have experiences that they don't match up. And what I found, here's a wrinkle. The 1,000-hour rule came out of studies of expert level performance. They're the professor for at university named Kate and Sarson. He's the originator of the 10,000 rule, and we're taking from it they studied professional athletes, world-class musicians, chess grandmasters, all of these ultra-competitive forces in ultra-high-performing fields, and he tried to figure out how long does it take to the top of those kind of fields. And we found it's more deliberate practice, more time that those individuals spend practicing the elements, whatever it is to do, The more time you spend, the better again. The focus of the TV time of the field. Putting upon 10,000 hours of practice. Now, we were talking about the game of telephone a little earlier. Here's happened. An author to mathematical as well wrote a book in 2005 called Our Lives a Story of Success, and the central piece of the book was a 10,000 hour rule. Practice a lot, practice well, and you will do extremely well. You will reach the top of field. So the message, what Dr. Erickson was actually saying is, it takes a 10,000 hours to get to the top of the ultra competitive fields in very narrow subject. That's what it means. But here's what happened ever since our lines came out. Immediately it came out which was top of bestseller state the first day of the month. All of a sudden the 1,000-hour rule was everywhere. And the society-wide game of telephone started to play. So this message is take the 10,000 hours to reach the top of ultra competitive field. It takes the 10,000 hours to become expert at something. Which became it takes the 10,000 hours to become good at something. Which became it takes the 10,000 hours to learn something. But the last statement, it takes 10,000 hours to learn something, is not true. It's not true. So, what the research actually says, if I spend time here in the serious library in the cognitive class text because I'm a geek, and when you actually look at a study of skill acquisition, you feel over and over graphing like this. Now, researchers, whether they're studying a motor skill, something in physical or mental skill, they like to study like they can time. Could you recall quantify like so those key first things is a little task, something required the physical arrangement, something required learning a little mental trick, and all this time how long practice you take to complete the skill. And here's a graph says when you start, so researchers gave a participants the task, it took them a really long time because it was never horrible. With a little bit of practice, they got better and better and better again. The only part of a practice is really efficient. People good at things with just a little bit of practice. Now what is interesting though is that if we don't really, for skills we want to learn for ourselves, we don't care so much about time, right? We just care about whatever happens to me. So we really look performing time to how good you are. The graph left, and you get the famous and widely known this is learning curve. And the story of learning curve is when you start with gradually confidence you know it, right? With a little bit of practice, you get really good really quick, so that only level of improvement is really fast. And at a certain point, reach your plateau, and the subsequent games become much harder to get toward. Now, my question is, I wanted that, right? How long does it take from starting something and be grossly competent and knowing it to being reasonably good in hopefully as short of a period of time as possible? So, how long does this take? There's my researcher said 20 hours. That's it. You can go for knowing nothing about any skill you can think about. Want to learn a language? Want to learn how to draw? Want to learn how to juggle French pencil? If you put 20 hours of a focusing, deliberate practice into that thing, you will be astounded at how good you are. 20 hours is doable in 45 minutes a day for about a month. Even skipping a couple of days here and there, 20 hours is that hard to accumulate. Now, there is methods to doing this, because it's not like you just start filling around the 20 hours and expect these massive improvements. There is a way to practice intelligently. There's a way to practice efficiently. There is one make sure to invest in those 20 hours in the most effective way that you possibly can. There's methods plus anything. The first is to deconstruct the skill, decide exactly what you want to be able to do when you're done, and then look at the skill and break it down into smaller pieces. Most of things that you think of as a skill are actually big bundles of skills that require all sorts of different stages of work and break up part of skill. The more you're able to decide what are the part of skill I want actually help me to get to what I want, and you can practice those first. When you practice most important thing first, you'll be able to improve your performance and you less amount of one possible. The second is learning enough to correct. So get 3 to 5 resources about what it is trying to learn. Could be DVDs, could be courses, but don't use those as a way to procrastinate on practice. I know what I did right. Get to 20 books about the top line. I'm gonna start learning how to program on a computer when I complete these 20 books. No, this procrastination. What you want to do is learning just enough that you can actually practice and self-correct or self-edit as you practice. So the learning becomes a way of getting better and notice when you're making a mistake and doing something a little different. The third is to remove barriers to practice. Distraction, television, internet. All of these things get in the way you actually sitting down and doing the work. And the more you're able to use just a little bit of power to remove the distraction that keeping your practicing, or like you are to actually sit down and practice, right? And the fourth is to practice for at least 20 hours. Now, most skills have what I call the frustration barrier. You know, the first with companies knowing the part. That's really frustrating. We don't like to feel stupid. And feeling stupid is barriers to us actually setting down doing the work. So, by pre-coming the practice in whatever it is one you want to do for at least 20 hours, you will be able to overcome that initial frustration barrier and stick with the practice long enough to actually read the reward. Right? That's it. That's rocket science. So I'm gonna do the rest of the video tomorrow. Okay. Thank you.